Hello everybody, my name is Adam Up Productions and welcome back to um another little video by me, obviously, because you clicked on the video and it is me talking. It's not great news. It's not big news. It's, you know who I am by this point if you're tuning into my channel again. And I'm gonna cut to the chase. Okay. After my Power of the Doctor review, I've been going on watching a lot of videos about Russell T Davies' return to Doctor Who, and I think it would be a miss of me to do like a 20-minute discussion video on that and not give any pointers, anything that I like to see. As a lifelong Doctor Who fan, I have been through the show. Well, I actually didn't start properly watching the show through till, ironically enough, the Chibnall era. I sort of bounced back in and out of the show for a little bit, and it wasn't until we had Chibnall's era that I really started properly watching Doctor Who. That's when I started watching Classic Who, that's when I started watching New Who, that's when I started watching Torchwood, that's when I started getting into the Big Finish audio dramas. It was a big Doctor Who renaissance for me, because Doctor Who's by Chibnall was so bad that I had to go to something better, and I'm glad it did. So, as a lifelong Doctor Who fan, and as someone who actually has a 5-season plan of his own, if you want to see me do a video on that, let me know in the comments down below. There are some things that I would like to see Russell T Davies do in his new era. So this video is just me basically compiling a short list of things that I'd just like to see him do. And I guess the first big one that's been on my mind is to not do a repeat of his 4-season plan of his era. The first season to come back to our screens in 2005 is still one of my favorite pieces of television ever. I fell in love with Doctor Who with Christopher Eccleston. Christopher Eccleston is my Doctor, and season 1 to me still holds up as one of the best seasons of television I've ever seen. Yes, it is not consistent, especially towards the beginning, but once you make your way through that bit of like the first half of the season, which isn't actually bad to begin with, you get some of the best Who I think has ever been written for the show, hands down. All within the space of like a few episodes apart. And whilst I do love this era of the show, it would be remiss of me to point out how Season 2 and Season 3 sort of fell by the wayside. I think people love to praise Season 4 because of two main reasons. It comes off the back of a sort of middling period of Russell T Davies' era and Catherine Tate as Donna Noble. If you don't have those two factors in there, Season 4 would not be as well highly regarded as it is today. In fact, Season 4 I think is not as consistently strong as people say it is. Yes, there are good parts in it, but if you were to sort of take a look at it objectively, it's not great. It is good, I love it still, but it would be remiss of me to say that it wasn't particularly as good as people say it was. And that's what I want to avoid with Russell T Davies' era. I wanted to avoid the same build up and impact that it had over those 4 years, where it's sort of like all built. Okay, that's not the right way to say it, but I don't want him to go back to try to test the formula of having his little 4-season plan that builds up to a big crossover episode for the finale. Of Season 4 at least. It worked incredibly well, and it was huge. It was big. At the time, it was one of the biggest things to ever happen, and I can absolutely see why. However, I wanted his storytelling to take a sort of more casual approach within the next few seasons. You know, in Season 1, it really felt like a more conclusive story through and through, because we did get recurring characters who stayed on for more than one episode. For example, we had Adam and we had Captain Jack Harkness, who were not mainstay companions, but still stuck around for more than one episode. We got shown the good side with Adam, we got shown the bad side with Adam, and we got shown the good side with Captain Jack Harkness. I want there to be more characters. It's something that I think Classic Who really excelled at, is that they got these really likable characters, and they just sort of introduced them through as the stories added them. And I think that's something that's really missing in Modern Who. It feels way too serialized to just be just the companions and the Doctor, and then that's it. I wanted it just to essentially stray away from its traditional storytelling conventions. There's nothing wrong with serialized television. In fact, it's quite the obvious. It's quite the opposite. Sorry. It's why some shows like Law and Order really succeed. But you watch the first season of Stranger Things, and you watch the first season of Doctor Who, and you watch a lot of shows with their first season sort of taper off, because it sort of feels like it loses what made it so special. The same with Breaking Bad. You could look at the first season of Stranger Things, Breaking Bad, and Doctor Who, and a lot of these characters' fates felt liquid. There was never anyone who I thought was particularly safe at any time. It's like as the show went on and as the show progressed, it felt incredibly safer with these storytelling conventions. I don't want to see Doctor Who fall into that same pattern. I want to see it take it into different directions. The stray away from the serials format. I don't even care if it reaches levels of the 7th Doctor timeline or Big Finish, where it is so convoluted and so up its own arse that you need to listen to every single drama beforehand to get it. I just want it to be... I wanted to try different things. Which sort of leads me on to my next point. I want to see stories that don't particularly follow the same Monster of the Week formula that every other episode follows. This is something that is big in my 5-season plan. It's okay, how do I put this? I wanted to be more character-based episodes that focus on the characters, and I wanted to be episodes that sort of deal with the consequences of the monsters without there being a Monster of the Week format. I guess the closest thing that we got to this was Gridlock in Series 3, where the Doctor and Martha are in New York, and there's no particular bad guy, it's just them trying to find each other again. I guess I did have to shoehorn the Macroterra in there, because the BBC has to have them have a monster in there somewhere. But I want it to be... I would love to see Doctor Who if it just explored these places without there being a particular Monster of the Week. I think that will open up a lot more story opportunities, a lot more in the way of characters than just having them go, TARDIS appears, deal with the threat, and then at the end of 45 minutes they go back to the TARDIS again. That's something I would love to see them sort of stray away from as well. Keep that formula, keep that, that's what makes Doctor Who so special. But I'd rather them approach situations differently. That doesn't, in my opinion at least, it doesn't always have to be a big Monster of the Week. You don't have to have that bad guy in every episode. Yes, it opens up some more storytelling. Yes, I could see it pissing off a lot of people, but I think that it's something that Russell T Davies, which is more stronger character approach to writing, can really pull off. Another thing that I would love to see Russell T Davies do is bring his multiverse of show ideas to Doctor Who. I made it no problem before letting people know about my opinions of Marvel. I think it's incredibly overrated, and I think that its telling of stories is incredibly hampered and crippled by the idea that it has to service the MCU in some reason. It's why Marvel continuously stifled creativity in favor of formulas that they knew would make them money, and why sort of ideas in the fold just got pushed elsewhere. Joker, I do not think would have been as big as a movie as it was if it was for the fact that they tried to fit it into the DCU somehow. Imagine if James Gunn saw Joker and then instead of letting it go as a standalone movie, just decided to try and cram into the DCU somehow. It would not have been as good as it was, even though I don't think it was great at all. But that movie made gangbusters at the box office. It still has a very large and wide critical reception to this day. Yes, Marvel has those same things, but, well, let's just put it this way, my opinion on things like television movies are always right. I would love to see a connected multiverse of stories and shows and media around Doctor Who, but I don't want it to fall into the same pit trap as Marvel. I want it to be these shows that grow organically from the from Doctor Who. It's the same with Big Finish. Big Finish has the monthly range, and then of course they have the spin-offs based off of Doctor Who, the TV show. They had done, they've caught up with Torchwood, they caught up with the Sarah Jane Adventures, but they have other sort of spin-offs that grew organically from that as well. We got Countermeasures from it, we got Graceless from it, we got the Companion Chronicles from it, we got Short Trips from it. It's like, we got Jago and Lightfoot, a spin-off of a spin-off of an audio drama. Some of these great pieces of work are great because they're separate. They have their own things that make them great without having to constantly rely on the fact that it's in the same universe for that same namesake. You could completely remove Jago and Lightfoot from Doctor Who, and apart from the fact that you wouldn't have an emotional connection for the characters for what you go through the tellings of Wang Chiang, and then the Mahogany Murders, and then finally jump into the first proper Jago and Lightfoot set. But apart from that, it just makes it so much more richer because it doesn't constantly throw in our faces the Daleks or the Cybermen or the Master, at least not yet anyway. I don't want to see that Doctor Who do that, where, if you haven't caught up on series 15, episode 4, you're going to get the context of Torchwood season 17, episode 15, and thus it makes your experience lesser because you have to try and keep up with the show and its infinite layers of complexity. That's what I think Marvel has tried to do, and it is not working well. I would just love to see an expanded universe with Doctor Who. There are so many different storytelling avenues they could go down that places like Big Finish have explored, that you could go down with something like Doctor Who, but you would have to do it in the same way that Russell T Davies did when he first show ran with the Sarah Jane Adventures and Torchwood, where having the context helps, but it doesn't completely cripple your experience by not having watched certain episodes. I mean, hell, you could watch Torchwood without having seen any of Series 1, and you would still be abreast of the situation regardless. Apart from, I think, the ending of Season 1 or 2 of Torchwood, where it shows the TARDIS showing up, but that's besides the point. These shows grew organically out of their own, and I want to see that happen still as well. In fact, on that same topic, I think some of the shows that they should bring back are, of course, Torchwood. Even though Torchwood is in its own sort of right developing on Big Finish with their own series, like the monthly range, they got season they got season 7 coming out this year. I would just love to see. I just love to see the excitement of these new shows coming back. It's incredibly painful to me that Doctor Who has been on this very slow, slippery slope for the longest time, and the BBC is giving less and less attention to it. You can see that the Chibnall era, as I discussed in my RTD era video, was a failure, and the BBC recognizes it. It doesn't matter if you like the era or not, you cannot deny that critically and commercially, the era has been a flop. So, if Russell T Davies comes back, I want him to get Doctor Who the proper recognition and praise that the show should be able to garner in the 21st century. In fact, it probably wouldn't even surprise me if, when the BBC first approached Russell T Davies to come back, one of the first clauses that he put in was he wants a blank check to make the show and to expand it upon everything. But that's besides the point. I'm getting ahead of myself here. I would love to see some modern day companions as well. Of course, we've already seen that Ruby Sunday is the new companion as portrayed by someone who is younger than me, which makes me feel incredibly old. But I would love to see someone who finally comes from a non-traditional modern day background. I would love to see someone from the future or the past or from an alien planet or all three combined. I don't even care. This is something I've pitched up that I've fallen into my own Who, where I have 3 companions going over the 5 seasons that I planned, and every single one of them are from contemporary modern day, except for one of them who comes from the early 2000s. But apart from that, it's just like every single companion, like apart from Nado that we've had, is just the same. Like, yeah, just give them a funny accent and maybe have them argue with the Doctor a little bit, but apart from that, it's just the same stock standard character over and over again. And yes, once again, I will admit that I fall into that same pit trap, but when I'm planning season 6 for my own Who onwards, I'm bringing in new characters. I'm having a failing musician as one of the companions. I'm having an alien who was a love interest to one of my first companions. I'm having a man from the medieval times coming back as a medieval peasant farmer coming in as a companion. I just want to try and expand the scope of the stories, because you could tell a lot more with so little. You don't need to have someone who with us witty accent, but who's witty, has a funny accent, and comes from contemporary England. You could have them come from anywhere across the globe. Yeah, even Tegan was from Australia, and she brought so much to the joke. Janet Fielding gave so much to the role of Tegan Jovanka with something as little as being Australian. Imagine what they could do if they brought back companions who were different. But I digress. Those are just 4 things that I want to see in Russell T Davies' new era of Who. I just want to see it succeed. That is the 5th thing that I want to see Russell T Davies do, is that I want it to succeed. Excuse me. In its entirety. A lot of people have said to me that Doctor Who should go into another hiatus. Doctor Who should be cancelled. Doctor Who should be paused until they can finally get things back on track. And I completely disagree. Doctor Who can still be great. You look at what they're putting out of Big Finish even today, and it is exciting. I look at certain products and I get excited to see what they do with it. I read books, I read novelizations, I read comics, and every time I do, it's like this comes from a point in time where Chibnall is show running Doctor Who. Doctor Who doesn't need to be put on the back burner because it's burnt out its creativity, because it's burnt out its writers, because it's burnt out its showrunners. Doctor Who is being burnt out because it was showrun by someone like Chris Chibnall, who unironically gave Time in the Rani glowing praise. Once again, I digress. The 5th thing I want to see is to see Doctor Who succeed in its current state in 2023. It is the 60th year of Doctor Who, and there's a whole bunch of celebrated marketing going on. We've got a new logo change, we've got some trailers coming out for the anniversary specials. There is so much happening right this year that it's exciting. It brings back memories of the 50th anniversary. And it brings back some fond memories. But once again, I just want to see Doctor Who succeed. Thanks for listening. I'll see you all later.